I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on the show, the new play getting all the laughs in Spanish. And remember, every Friday we broadcast our Week in Review show from our studio at the Boston Public Library. Come join us. You don't even need a ticket. But right now, we interrupt our regularly scheduled programming for a call from the town crier of Provincetown. Daniel Gomez Yata is the town crier of Provincetown, and next Monday he'll host the first ever Provincetown Town Crier competition with 15 town criers from across the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom all competing. He joins us on the line to tell us what all that crying is about. Daniel Gomez Yata, welcome to the Culture Show. It's great to have you here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I think I've been so excited to have you on the show. I was talking to you about you to people at the ICA this morning, and we were wondering the need for a town crier today. Obviously, there is one that you bring to it. Tell me what you do.
Well, the town crier of today is basically kind of an ambassador of the community or town that you're from. It's a reach back into the old world culture and stemming from when town criers actually told the news in a pre-radio age. Today is kind of for fun, and it's an art form.
Well, I guess let's go back to that, the pre-radio age, and how did town criers originate? What was their original function?
Originally, the town crier would work for the government or municipality or lordship or whoever, and even when whether people were literate or not, they still had to get their news from somewhere, and that was the town crier. So the town crier would communicate directly with the government or powers that be and get the news. And when he would go out into the town square, they would dress loudly, ring a loud bell or something noisy like a drum or a trumpet and get your attention. And people would hear that ruckus. They'd come around and want to know what's happening. So that's what the town crier used to do. We still do that, but with less consequential news, probably.
Well, for what you're describing, the town crier was surely a revered figure, and I know you're quite revered in Provincetown, but they were a fundamental part of the community.
Absolutely. You needed to get your news from somewhere, didn't you?
And how has Provincetown always been aligned with the town crier, even all throughout the 20th century?
Provincetown was kind of an anomaly among other towns, especially in this country, when in the 1920s and the advent of radio, when town criers would all just start retiring, aging out, and putting down their bell and saying, that's it. Also, they were usually a municipal position, so you had to pay money for this job, and nobody wanted to. But Provincetown made that jump into becoming an actual newscaster job into a ceremonial one. So the town crier back then, his name was Amos Emanuel Kubik. He's immortalized in our town hall and all around Provincetown. He was the one who made that leap and started dressing up as a pilgrim, as we do today, and going out into Provincetown, ringing his bell and just telling everybody that the Mayflower landed here and not there. And it started that way. Today, we are the oldest continuous nowhere has had a town crier in the United States as long as Provincetown, since probably 1849.
So how did you, Daniel Gomez Yata, enter into this?
Well, by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, probably. Nobody ever plans or hopes or wants to grow up to be a town crier. It's kind of you're voluntold in a certain way, I suppose. But there can only be one at a time for any town, right? So you have to wait for somebody to retire or just otherwise not be able to do the job anymore. And that was me.
And now take me through your day. Where will we find you? As you mentioned already, there is a costume involved. Tell me about your day.
So typically the first ferries from Boston come into Provincetown, McMillan Pier, right around 10 a.m. And the town crier would usually be there or around there and just greeting people and especially the earlier ferries in the day. That's when you have the higher concentration of tourists, rather townies coming back for a weekend or whatnot. But you can always find me for sure, in front of town hall every day at precisely 12 o'clock noon. And that is when I do my daily proclamation. I do that several times a day, but that's kind of a pop up for me when I have a captive audience in a bar or a restaurant, but in front of the town hall at noon. And typically, I'm not out very late in the afternoon unless there's a special occasion. I have to cut a ribbon or lead a parade or open the Tennessee Williams Theater Festival or something like that.
Well, this sounds like you're cutting into the town manager's prestige in doing all of these highfalutin functions.
Yeah, well, fortunately for me, I'm not an elected official. I'm just, I have no political power, which makes it even more fun.
And you just talked about your official proclamation for the day. What can be the content? What are you imparting?
I always go back to history. I begin with tradition, which the town criers of yore would begin with the time and the tide, being a fishing village and having a lot of boats coming in. So people want to know what high tide, sunrise and sunset, what time like that. I'll tell you about the moon phases. I'll tell you how high the tide. I'll say 11 feet 3 inches above mean low water. Take due notice thereof and govern thyself accordingly. But I also go into, of course, what's happening in the theater, what drag shows are going on, what other kind of gala fundraisers for nonprofits and things like that, and leading parades, things like that.
Now, this question, I'm going to forewarn you in advance. It may sound like a slight, but it's not going to end that way because everything you're talking about, people can get on their cell phones. They can get a little bit of listening to the culture show from me here at 2 o'clock. But as I'm hearing you talking, I'm realizing, especially talking about the tides or what's happening in the theater, that you're getting people's attention in a way that some of these devices, broadcasts, can't. So you must find that people appreciate what you're doing and that there actually is a need for it, despite our myriad ways of imparting information today.
Well, that's right. I add the personal, physical touch, as in I'm actually here in the space at the time. So people can flip through the radio dial or through their on their iPhones or whatever, but you might see that something's happening. But these people are here today and here now, and they see me, and they might stop there walking their dog, whatever. They hear this crazy guy in town square and go, "Oh, that's today. Oh, I can actually go. I think I will." So they can also stop and ask me further questions. So it's all about just, shooting the breeze and creating a rapport with these tourists. It's a personal touch that the radio can't necessarily impart.
I am very personal. Thank you very much. I understand that you have developed a backstory for your town crierness.
That is correct. It's an ongoing backstory. I'm making it up as I go, which is how I live my life. So every town crier has kind of a shtick, meaning like, where did this person come from? In my case, I dress like a Mayflower pilgrim, and I have to stick with that. That's the tradition, but I have fun with it. I say, well, as we all know, the Mayflower didn't intend necessarily to land here, of all places. They were going to a place where there were warm hearth and fire and food and people and clean clothing and all that, but they ended up here. And had these people been fishermen and not farmers, they might have remained in Provincetown. I say that they were, they were primarily, half of them were Puritans, the other half were not. I certainly was not a Puritan, and I mark it all up to serious ideological differences. And I was a fisherman in my story, so I stayed here. They all went back to, they took off and went to Plymouth, and I remained behind. So I'm the original wash ashore.
Well, for your commitment to your performance, John Waters, who is, of course, a very famous Provincetown resident, I think needs to cast you in one of his next films.
Oh, we've already done that already or tried. He actually wrote me in as his villain of his most recent book that's called Liarmouth. And I actually crashed his book signing dressed as the town crier. And all I had to do was just recite verbatim what he had written about me to the horror of everybody in the room, especially to John Waters.
I love your style. I still have that copy of the book from when I had him on Open Studio. I'll have to go back and find your passage.
Oh my, well, don't read it aloud on the radio, please.
Oh, okay. Forewarned. Again, we're speaking with Daniel Gomez Yata, who is the town crier of Provincetown, and he is hosting the first ever Provincetown Town Crier competition Monday at 10 a.m. What is this competition?
The competition is comprised of 2 cries, and each cry is something that you've written down. They've got plenty of time to do this. It's between 100 words and 125 words. You get docked 1 point for each word under. So 99 is a no-go, or 126. And there's 2 topics which are assigned by me. The first one would be the home cry, and each town crier will go up and basically brag about and extol the virtues of the town that they're from. So next, from Halifax, Nova Scotia, why it's a wonderful place. And that's the kind of the easy part for me, being from Provincetown and all, except for the 125 word count limit, which is kind of restricting. The second one is more fun. This is the one we're going back to the basics about the newscaster element. And I've assigned each town crier to report an actual event in Provincetown's history as if it were in real time. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. That's the one I said it's going to be both historical and hysterical.
Well, I want to hear from you how to get the best town crier performance. But for our audience, here's an excerpt so they can understand what you're talking about on the other side. Here's an excerpt from your video submission to the town crier competition for the American Guild of Town Criers, and the theme was, "Why a Town Crier?"
The traditional role has been superseded by radio and later television. The crier, notwithstanding, has still survived. Rescued from obsolescence for its great appeal, its association with tradition and eccentricity has resulted in its survival and revival.
Wait, first of all, it just occurred to me, are you betraying town criers everywhere for being on the radio right now?
Technically, perhaps. We don't use a microphone or a megaphone. It's all about the voice. So yes, that extra amplification. Oh well, I'll let this one pass for now.
Okay, well, to go back to my original question, what is your, and you're not a judge this year because you are the host, so you can, I think, with complete unbiasedness, offer advice. How does one get that register, that enunciation, that tone to be the town crier?
Well, there are 4 topics on which we are judged, and the tone one, that will be there. One town crier in particular, who happens this time will be the town crier emeritus of Provincetown, my good friend Kenny Lonergan. He'll be doing the voice projection and clarity and diction, that aspect. But the other categories will be for showmanship in general, like the entrance and exit, deportment, how you carry yourself and all that. Another one will be David Dunlap, the author, and he's doing the cry content. He's actually a historian, so watch out for David Dunlap. And then we have the penalty judge, which is the script adherence and how you follow your script, etc. If your voice cracks, that kind of a thing. And that is a town select board member, Leslie Sandberg. And I didn't mention the first one is actually the town crier of Lancashire, England, who will perform, but he's not competing. He is Mr. John Angus Spencer Barnes, and he is a BBC radio announcer by profession.
Well, this sounds like a lot of fun, and it is really interesting, I have to say, to learn all about this and to know the relevance of town criers today. And we will all look for you the next time we're getting off the ferry and embarking in Provincetown.
I'm hard to miss. You'll hear me before you see me.
Danielle Gomez Yata, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Daniel is the town crier of Provincetown, and he's hosting the first ever Provincetown Town Crier competition. It kicks off next Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning in Provincetown. We'll have the details posted on the Culture Show episode page. Again, thank you for being here. Coming up in the play Laughs in Spanish, it turns out laughing is a universal language. That conversation is next on the Culture Show. Stay with us.